Hi, welcome back to the workshop. I found myself suddenly in urgent need of some flip stops and some T-track to go on top of the fens on the radial arm saw. If you don't know about the radial arm saw, then I suggest you watch this vid and it'll explain why it's here and my Capex isn't. So, looking at flip stops and T-tracks, an absolute plethora available on the market. I really liked the look of the ones that Dennis reviewed on his channel Hooked on Wood. Well worth a look, check it out. But if I order from Banggood, then it could take anything up to 5 or 6 weeks in my experience to get it. So I went searching and I started off looking at the Craig. So I've got this at the moment from Craig. I've lost the flip stops for them. They're here somewhere, I don't know where, and that's not a bad solution, but I can remember the flip stop that came with it had quite a bit of slack in it, so I didn't want to go back there again. I could have gone for the Incra, and I could have gone for the Incra that would allow me to use their universal stop. It's absolutely superb, but it's a bit fiddly for just undoing a knob, sliding across and locking in place again on the radial arm saw. So I wanted something that was literally an unlock arm, slide it to where I want, read off a scale, lock it in place, make my cut. What I've ended up going with is a solution made by a company called Rutlands, or supplied by a company called Rutlands. I'm sure you've heard of them and been bombarded by their sales emails, the same that I have. So what I've got in front of me is a left and a right flip stop with micro adjust and 2 of their T-track. The flip stops and the T-track arrived in plastic bags, but inside of a quite substantial cardboard box, so the packaging was at the very least adequate. First impressions and feel in the hand, nicely finished, rounded on the corners, nice and smooth to the touch. The flip stop itself, a roughish finish to the surface. I don't know if you can see that. If I get some sawdust in there, you'll be able to see the lines. The arms themselves are quite stiff to move, but are held in place with a nylon lock nut, so that can easily be undone and slackened off a little bit. There's a fine adjust bar here with a little pointer on it to indicate exactly where you're to on the scale, and I'll show you the scale in a sec. And the fine adjust is altered by these 2 brass looking nuts, and then you can merely slide that into the appropriate position and lock it off. One thing I have noticed out the box is that the clamp arm strikes the flip stop if it's up, which it will go past, but it just seems to be a shade too long. A millimetre off of that and it would have passed quite easily. Point to note that this flip stop is made to suit a 3/4 inch 19mm track, and that's the track that it's sold with or can be purchased with. So the track itself, nice and substantial, good number of lockdown screws, and of course the location for the scale. Now the scale, in my opinion, is quite small. It does seem relatively easy to read, although it's a shiny surface as opposed to a satin, so it's going to reflect the light. Now I've put one to go either side of the blade on my radial arm saw, and I've just noticed that on one side I'm going to have to set the scale upside down in order to get the orientation correct, which is annoying. So let's see what they're like to fit. So in order to make sure I get it lined up perfectly, I'm going to clamp a couple of pieces of ply to the face of the fence. And then I can clamp the rail itself down, making sure I keep it pulled forward against the ply while I drill and screw. So likes and dislikes about the product now that I've got it installed. It was inexpensive in comparison to others on the market, and it was easy to fit. Now let's do what I don't like about the product. I really dislike the fact that this arm will not flip back up out of the way. In my opinion, the whole point of having a flip stop is so that you can flip it up out of the way. Well, that fouls this space. Number two, the scales at the back of the T-Track. It would be far easier for the operator if the scale was at the front of the T-Track with the pointer placed so that you could easily read the measurement off of the scale. This pointer is hidden behind this raised piece of aluminium, the frame that holds the pointer in place. So in order to read this, I've got to lean right over to see it. Again, it just makes the product a little more awkward to use. And while I'm on the point of the scale's really quite small, and it's made with a highly reflective finish, not a satin finish, which again makes it a little harder to read. When it comes to positioning the flip stop, its primary purpose is so that you can place it easily where you want it to be. It's a little grabby if you don't unwind this locking handle all the way. It seems to be a long way that you need to unwind it in order to get that easy flowing movement. And if you don't grab it in exactly the right place, it won't move. And finally, you could argue, being a little picky, but the finish on the flip itself is not the best. The rest of the product's finished very well, just those two surfaces aren't. Well, there you have it. The Rutlands Flip Stop and T-Track. I'll let you draw your own conclusions. Please let me know what you think, and if you found a particularly good flip stop and T-Track, then please let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Ta-ra.